Okay, so I decided to take out both my Kirbys that I own and just kind of compare them in their current condition. Now, this one, which is my Kirby Ultimate G Diamond Edition, actually is completely refurbished and doesn't need anything besides a cord, because the cord does have some damage on it. But other than the cord, this thing is in great shape, and I already got the parts that needed to be replaced on it. And then I have my Kirby G10, which needs a new lever that switches between the drive and the neutral position, because when it's in the neutral setting, yeah, it clicks excessively. Whereas my Ultimate G Diamond Edition, it's in the neutral setting. You can see it doesn't click. So we're going to get that replaced on it. I also want to replace this little handle grip, carrying handle, because I accidentally marred it up with my polishing wheel when I was polishing this part of the aluminum. So next time I'm going to remove this piece the next time I want to polish this. But big deal, the replacement's only $2, so I'm not too worried about it. Now, they're both Goodwill finds. This one was cheaper. I got it for $20, and this one was $50. So as far as their differences go, before we get into the differences, I do want to talk about the year. This one was made in 2004, my Diamond Edition, and this G10 was made in 2010. So 6-year difference. Now you can see the lights have changed on them. This one just has the standard bulb that you change whenever it burns out. And this one has the LED, which I really like. They both lift up very easily. Now because this one's LED, you don't see it, but this one you can actually see the bulb in there. I had to replace that because that was burned out when I got it. As far as how to take off the nozzle, it's much the same, except they did change this from square to round, but it operates the same way. Just turn it and disengage the belt, and you can pop off the nozzle. Same thing with this one. Now the fan impellers on both of them are in great shape. So they do take the same fans. And we can also see that if we compare these side to side, they both take the same brush rolls. However, the G10, which is 6 years newer, has a nicer brush roll in it because it's not as worn. Whereas the bristles on here are a little bit more worn down than my G10. But the nice thing is that these brushes are centric, so I just have it on the second position, so you don't have to replace it immediately. But the bearings in my G10 are perfect. This brush rolls very smoothly when I took it out, and that is very good. Of course, we have a little bit of corrosion down here, pretty typical with these metal uprights. But, you know, I could have polished that out, but I just didn't really care because the nozzle hides it anyways, so you don't even see it. See if I can do this one-handed. Let's set the camera down. Oh, there we go. Oh, of course you want to engage your belt. Now we can also see, obviously this is where the attachments would connect to, but I don't have the attachments right now. I do plan on getting the attachments so I can just test them out. I've used a Kirby before. I used to use a Avalier 2 at my neighbor's that she had, and I remember using the attachments on it and using it in her house. Very similar to my G10, except hers just had a slightly different handle design, and it was basically the same thing. As we know, Kirby's don't really change over the years. We can see the bumpers on these are different. The G10 kind of curves downwards in the middle, and then it rises back up, whereas the Ultimate G Diamond Edition just has a straight square bumper with a nice yellow stripe that goes through it. We can also see that with the yellow bumper stripe, they did put yellow for the Kirby and on the bag just to match the whole theme of the vacuum. We can also see just some minor differences. They did change the wheel color from light gray to dark gray. Same thing with the main wheels. Also, another thing is the bottom right here. This is metal on the Diamond Edition, but they later switched to plastic on the G10. Back here, we have a very similar setup. They did change this a little bit. They have the cord routed throughout here a little bit differently than the G10, but very similar. Obviously, the drive pedals are the same. Switch between drive and neutral. And wheels are exactly the same. Now, the bags are different, but I'm sure they are interchangeable. So you have a zip, but on this one, I'm going to set my phone down again. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. But on this one, there's a weird curve where you unzip it, whereas the G10 just zips all the way down. Now, I think the earliest G10, like the from 2009, I think that one had a curved zipper just like this one. But since this one's slightly newer, it just has a zipper that goes straight down. Which I prefer, it's just easier to unzip, but that's just my opinion. Now the bag docks on these are also different, however they still take the same bags, because Kirby makes them compatible. So on the Diamond Edition, the bag actually goes on at a weird angle and then you twist it. And then everything is locked in. Whereas the G10, and I know, again, with the 2009 G10, this one, it had the same setup as the Diamond Edition, but on this one, it actually uses this little flap that folds down and it locks it in place with those two plastic pieces that stick out to keep the bag on. Whereas you see this one doesn't have that. So because of that, I do think you can see a little bit of a open gap there. No dust leaks, but I think that this design is better. And we can also see that the insides of these outer bags are very clean. Because I washed them very, very well. So I'm going to go ahead and zip these back up. They take the same bags as you saw. Of course, I'm using genuine Kirby bags that are HEPA quality. I don't have much in these bags because I just replaced the bags on these not that long ago, so of course there's not going to be much in here. I like the design bag on the I like the design of the outer bag on the G10 better than the Diamond Edition. That's just my opinion, and I do think that the bag quality on the G10 has improved. It feels better quality. It feels softer, whereas this one just doesn't feel as well made. Especially down here, where what they call mTOR, this just feels like it's loosely on there. Whereas on the G10, it feels a lot more secure. So, also they did change the design of the I think they call it the mTOR on this one. This one doesn't have that weird mTOR thing. So I'm going to take this off so you can get a good idea of what I'm talking about. There we go. Give it a good turn. There's no mTOR on here. The dirt actually just goes straight up. Straight up. So you can see where there's no mTOR. Whereas this one, the older one, the Diamond Edition. I'm going to set this down because this is pretty tight. You can see that there is an mTOR. So basically what this is here for is if there's like any large debris, like a screw or something, like a coin, that you should not be sucking up in one of these, but if that were to happen, it would actually drop down in here, and I guess you would just shake it out. Now, when I got this machine, there were actually 2 screws stuck up in here that I had to fish out, so it does appear to work. Also, you'll notice that on both of these, this is where the cluster switch is actually in. You'll see that there's like a little tab right here, and that's as a safety feature. So if you have this on incorrectly, or the bag could potentially blow off, or you don't have the bag on, this is not going to work because there's a strand right there. It's not going to work because that right there, it actually pushes it in. So I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Nope, I can't do that one-handed. Let me just set the camera down. There we go. It basically pushes that in. Same thing with the nozzle. There's like a little button in here that needs to be pushed in whenever you're using the attachments or the nozzle in order for that to work. So we can also see that the handle design is a little bit different. You can see this one's a little bit skinnier, whereas on the Diamond Edition, not Diamond Edition, but the G10, the handle design is a little bit more modern. And when we have these both side to side evenly, we can see that the handle on the Diamond Edition actually sticks out farther behind the machine, whereas the Sentra, also known as the G10, the handle kind of gets pushed in a little bit more in the front. The handle grip is also different. This one's a little bit more square, whereas this one's a little bit more rounded. And I like the handle on this one a little bit better. They both spring forward, however the spring on this one just feels a little bit more tighter, I guess. And I suspect that's because this one is newer, so it's going to have more resistance. I also should note that on the handles, the Diamond Edition has a slot for coins, which is very weird. So you can actually just put your coins in there, and whenever it's full, you can just unscrew this. I'm not going to do it, but this whole back piece will come off, and that's where all your coins would be. So very, very weird, but it is there. So I think we mentioned pretty much everything. They both have the same 7-amp motor, and they both sound pretty much the same. But we will go ahead and run it just for the sake of the video. You also notice that the cord is dark gray, whereas the Diamond Edition is light gray. Pretty much the whole machine is light gray on the Diamond Edition, and the Sentra is dark gray. That includes the handle, this top piece for the bag, you can see. And I just think it looks more modern. I like the looks of the G10 overall better. That's just my personal opinion. But what's nice about the Diamond Edition is that it does have a 2-speed switch right there. And of course, when it's on the high setting, it runs exactly the same as this one. This one's just always running on its high setting, whereas this one, you can switch between high and low. It's also a 2nd speed, so whenever you're using the attachment, you're actually activating its 2nd speed on both of these, because whenever you're using the attachments, it actually makes the vacuum run faster to kind of make up for the lack of suction that these direct air machines produce. So we'll start with the G10. you see they pretty much run the exact same. However, the Ultimate G Diamond Edition does have a little bit more transmission noise, which I think that's just due to, with age. I can kind of demonstrate that. By disengaging the belt, you can hear it a lot better. This one sounds perfect. Whereas this one has a little bit more noise. Now, I'm not really concerned because I've seen a lot of videos on these and they also sound like that. So, I am curious if that's just how they were out of the factory, out the box, or if that's just due with age. Because I know that Kirby does kind of change the transmissions and the kind of ratio of it over time, over the years. So if anyone knows, please be sure to let me know, because I'd actually like to know if that's actually how they sounded out of the box. So that is kind of just like a quick comparison video between these two Kirbys. The G10, also known as the Sentra, which is labeled right there, and the G7, which is also, I think it's a G7, right? I don't see where it says G7, but I think it is. I can look at the sticker real quick. Yep, it is a G7. So, that is the G10 and the G7, also known as the Sentra, and the Ultimate G Diamond Edition. So, anyways, thanks for watching.